Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And roll call.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, we'll do introductions around the table. I'll start. I'm the board president, Clint Derringer.
Sorry, I'm Sara Delgado. I'm the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning.
Roy Bishop, deputy superintendent.
John Kava, board legal counsel.
Colleen, Worden, trustee.
Valarie St. John, trustee.
Okay, next item is approval of the FOIA Appeal Committee meeting agenda for May 28th, 2026.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I vote to approve the FOIA Appeal Committee meeting agenda. That passes 3-0. Okay, next item is public comment. If anybody has a public comment, please raise your hand, and then I'll try to go in order. Okay, just one. Nobody else wants to comment?
Should I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, well, dear President Derringer, I cannot believe you appointed yourself and Colleen to this committee. You did not ask all trustees if they were willing to serve. And notably, you did not even offer Sean Cotton the opportunity. He could have simply recused himself from the specific vote at issue. Instead, you ensured that you and Colleen, the very individuals tied most directly to this matter, would remain in control of the process and the outcome. Colleen, you were the one who targeted Dr. Tuttle with this memo.
Judge, this is what I'd like to object. This is attorney-client privilege, which is at the heart of this matter. And for this trustee to be saying this stuff out loud, it's the same nonsense that came to an email last night that was put to people that it shouldn't be put to. This is the subject of the FOIA and it's attorney-client privilege. She shouldn't be saying this out loud at a meeting.
I would also raise the issue that with 4 trustees discussing, we are a quorum, and since this was listed as a committee meeting, I don't know if that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
I'll start with that issue, unless you want.
No, go ahead with that.
Yeah, so on the Open Meetings Act issue, there are cases that address that if you have a quorum of the full board that is discussing the matter at hand, then the meeting could be a violation of the Open Meetings Act if it wasn't posted as a board meeting as opposed to a committee meeting. The same case states that you can have non-committee members present and sitting as part of the public if they are not deliberating as part of the matter. I would suggest that we limit any discussion about the issue that this committee is going to vote on by other board members because it could be considered deliberation regarding the issue. Obviously, if there's concerns about whether someone has a conflict, that's one issue, but the subject matter that this committee is here, I request that we don't discuss that specific, so.
Yeah.
So
So can I
I think
continue?
answers your second.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I pause your time.
You had time. Okay.
Well, and Colleen, I will continue where I left off. You were the one who targeted Dr. Tuttle with
Again,
this
it's the
memo.
same, excuse me.
Am I allowed to be interrupted during this? This is my turn to talk, and you are violating my rights to speak. And so I'm going to continue.
John, with all due
Clint.
respect, isn't this the subject matter of what it is?
Anything related to a memo is the subject matter if you want to talk about conflict in general, but if you could refrain from speaking about a memo or anything related to the subject of the FOIA, that would be best for the entire board.
Okay. Well, Clint, the memo itself concerns.
Again, it's that she just keeps doing it. The memo's not to be discussed, and that's what you keep telling her.
So if she's the lawyer in this room, this is the lawyer in this room, and you're a trustee as I am.
So,
And I could be speaking as a public, I have the right to speak.
You do have the right to speak. I would
And you're going
suggest,
to be voting on something here that's pretty important.
right, but I don't want
So
to
I'm not
get,
deliberating.
right, but I don't want to get involved into a point where you're talking about the actual documents that this committee needs to vote on tonight, because this was not posted as a public board meeting. It was posted as a committee meeting. And
With voting rights.
Correct, and it was created under the board bylaws that you have in place. So it is a committee that has been delegated the authority to decide the FOIA appeal. But if we start talking about the actual documents themselves, we run the risk of violating the Open Meetings Act because we have 4 board members that are discussing that particular issue.
I
Right.
just want to expand on what Mr. Kava is saying. You are entitled to your opinion, you're entitled to communicate. This is you.
Thank you.
You,
So I will continue.
no, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
You, as a board trustee, have access to the information that is being discussed here. If you are talking about the information that has
I'm
not
not.
been, excuse me, please allow me to finish speaking. If you are talking about what the document says, or your interpretation of it, then that is what creates the conflict for the board. That is what creates the Open Meetings Act violation. Your opinion is not a problem. Your ability to speak here is not a problem unless you are talking about things you could only know because you're a trustee of the board. I would ask you to check your comment, your written statement there, and please refrain from talking about anything that you know because you are a trustee on the board
I
and
understand
it is
that.
within these documents.
And Clint, the reality is here that the OMA violation is you taking away my right as a trustee to speak. You are making a decision tonight. So I will continue. There is a major conflict here, or better yet, this should have gone before the full board. Exactly as Tim Clapp, Sean Cotton, and I supported when this committee was originally formed. You asked me to serve, but once again, I learned the committee consisted of you and Colleen, and I was stunned by the lack of judgment and the appearance of self-protection. This board continues to hide from transparency. This FOIA request has been pending for months. Instead of releasing the information, you continue maneuvering to shield the consequences of poor decisions. At some point, the hiding really should stop. You should release the memo. The community.
Point of order.
Colleen, the
Point of
community is
order.
watching. Now, this
Excuse me,
is
you're
the
not-
4th time that I've been interrupted from saying what I'm allowed to say. This is my public right. This is.
Excuse me, but you're not on the committee. I made a point of order. This is now the 5th time she's been interrupted, or 4th time, discussing a memo which you told her not to talk about. So at this point,
I did
I'm
not discuss
moving
the
it. She
memo. I
prevented from-
discussed the conflict of interest.
I'm going to let her finish her comment, and the problems that it creates, we will have to deal with as a board. That's how you hold trustees accountable as a board. She has 1 minute and 24 seconds.
Well, that sounds a little threatening, but I will continue and just say that the conflict is great. Colleen Worden, Clint Derringer, you should not be on this committee.
Yes, Mr. Schroeder. Yeah,
I didn't know anything about anything. I'm just a guy sitting here. I gave somebody a ride here. You guys are gonna vote. How you're a lawyer. I know you're a lawyer. You just said you were a lawyer. How is this not so conflicted? This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. You talk about, the hen house and the fox and the hen. These are 2 foxes deciding how they're gonna, or better yet, or 2 lambs and a wolf deciding what's for dinner. It's gonna be the lambs, I'm guessing. I mean, how is this not conflict? This has gotta violate any type of Open Meetings Act, and where's Mr. Garrissey? I'm an American with a disability. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it really took me time to get here because I don't like driving when it's a major time for other cars on the road. Because this is my right leg and you drive with your right leg. Where's Mr. Garrissey being able to broadcast to every other American with a disability in the community? This is absolutely not only a violating of the Open Meetings Act, but this is so conflicted, you gotta be standing on your head to justify this, Mr. Esquire or Mr. Lawyer or whatever you go by. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. And you're gonna take money and you're gonna allow them to do that, and you're taking my money. This is because I guarantee you're not working for free, and it's not coming out of their pocket. You're taking my money and letting conflicts go. How is that not a violation of all your legal ethics, sir? This is nuts. Thank you.
Any other public comments? We'll move on with the agenda. Okay. Next, I will make a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to section 8(1)H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, including information or records subject to the attorney-client privilege exempt pursuant to MCL 15.2431.
A second?
Okay. It requires a roll call vote. Is there any discussion? Okay, I am a yes. Trustee St. John.
Yes.
Trustee Worden.
Yes.
Passes 3-0. We're now in closed session. Okay, so we're back in open session. Next item on the agenda is review of the FOIA appeal filed with the board by Ted O'Neill. I am going to move that the FOIA Appeal Committee reverse the disclosure denial issued on April 17, 2026 in response to the FOIA request submitted by Ted O'Neill on March 26, 2026, as narrowed by Mr. O'Neill's appeal of May 11, 2026, and direct the district to produce the following records responsive to the appeal. On June 10, 2025, email correspondence from Mrs. Colleen Worden to Dr. Andrea Tuttle regarding a response to Superintendent formal complaint, including its attachments, the June 10, 2025 Clark Hill memorandum and the Taher conversation transcript. The June 20th, 2025 email correspondence from Dr. Andrea Tuttle to Mrs. Worden regarding the response to Superintendent formal complaint, and the July 15th, 2025 email correspondence from Mrs. Worden to Dr. Andrea Tuttle regarding the response to Superintendent formal complaint. The committee finds that the memorandum from Clark Hill to the board was not intended to be privileged, and therefore the exemption under MCL 15.2431G does not apply. Furthermore, the additional record search pursuant to the FOIA appeal revealed the intentional disclosure to Dr. Andrea Tuttle. The reversal is authorized pursuant to MCL 15.2402A.
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion before we vote?
I have a couple of comments to make. So, first of all, I was the board president at the time, and as will be discussed, there was a complaint that was filed by our superintendent. I contacted board counsel, and then he did an investigation, and then there was a legal memo that was sent to me to share with Dr. Tuttle. In fact, the correspondence that's going to be released indicated, please share this with Dr. Tuttle. There was no indication of attorney-client privilege on the memo, which as an attorney I know you're supposed to obviously put that on there if you believe that something is protected by attorney-client privilege. And moreover, there's an indication that it would be put in a file. So obviously when I sent this to Dr. Tuttle, my intention was not for it to be privileged, because I was obviously sending it to Dr. Tuttle and didn't put on the memo that it was attorney-client privilege. So there was certainly no intention for it to be privileged. The second thing I want to say is that it's my understanding that the first FOIA did not produce this because the search that was done by the language of by Mr. O'Neill would not have yielded the memo with Dr. Tuttle, because that wasn't the language that was included in the search. So when the FOIA appeal came about, the language was changed, and that did include Dr. Tuttle. So that's when the search was done to include Dr. Tuttle, and that's when the memo popped up. So certainly our attorney and our FOIA coordinator would not have known about the memo through the first search, because the language was not included in that. So I just want to clarify that as well. So I fully support this disclosure, because if a document's not intended to be privileged and it wasn't protected by privilege, then it should be produced.
Just in terms of the documents, the first search had some email correspondence and the memo that was attached. The memo was part of the first search. There was replies back additional email correspondence that was added by the additional search. And it's kind of the direction of the communication that changed the search terms necessary by the staff. So the memo, the actual attachment, was part of the first search. It was the follow-on email correspondence that was added and will also be released. Any other discussion before we vote?
I'll just echo that I agree, the initial search, there's no way administration could have known that a particular memo from an attorney was not privileged, even though it wasn't marked so. And the context of the appeal showed that it was not intended to be privileged. And I do find it disturbing that the appeal language makes it clear a trustee revealed the exact email chain that was necessary to search to provide these documents. So, but it is what it is, and we are reversing the appeal, or we're reversing the denial on appeal.
Which I think I'm guessing, John, had you seen that language, you would have likely deemed that not to be.
So with the original FOIA requests that came in, the only documents that were produced, or the only emails that were produced, were between the board's legal counsel and the board itself. And that memo that was sent to the board, those in a vacuum would have been privileged documents. And then if at that time, if the search would have produced the email that forwarded that on to Dr. Tuttle, a third party, we would have released it because we would have known there would have not been privilege that was attached. And that's what Dr. Delgado and I discussed at the time. And then once the FOIA appeal came in, there was an additional search because the FOIA appeal specifically requested emails that were forwarded with the memo to Dr. Tuttle. We then had a discussion that is now a release of something that could have been privileged to a third party is no longer privileged. And then after further discussion and review of the memo itself, it says it could be sent on to Dr. Tuttle. It's clear the intent was not to have it privileged because it was forwarded on to Dr. Tuttle.
Yeah.
And so we would have released it if it would have come up in the first search.
Yeah. And just to clarify my position as the board president, a complaint was filed by Dr. Tuttle, which I forwarded to legal counsel. He did an investigation, and that's what the content of this memo is, which was not intended to be privileged.
Yes.
Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, roll call votes in order. Trustee St. John?
Yes, I am voting to reverse the denial.
Okay, Trustee Worden?
Yes.
I am also a yes, that passes 3-0.
I'll
That's
vote
it.
to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Trustee Worden?
Yes.
6:03, we adjourn. Thank you, everybody.